to be asleep, but for some people, the night brings anything but rest. So tonight, we're going to dive into 3 true accounts of terror to really understand what happens when that ordinary quiet of the night is just completely shattered by fear. Now, this line right here, this comes from one of the accounts we're about to explore, and it just perfectly captures that heart-stopping moment when suspicion turns into certainty. That moment you realize you are absolutely not alone. That's the exact point when a little bit of unease just flips into pure terror. See, the thing about the dark is, it doesn't actually create new dangers. It just strips away our sense of control. The world you know kind of dissolves, your senses get dulled, and the silence makes every little creak, every whisper, every shadow feel like it's aimed right at you. Really, all it does is show us just how vulnerable we are. So that brings up a really important question. If we look at 3 totally different but equally terrifying stories, can we start to see the patterns? What are the universal triggers that can take a perfectly normal night and just twist it into an absolute nightmare? Let's dig in and find out. All right, our first case. It starts with a 26-year-old guy, totally stressed from work, who decides to take a late-night walk just to clear his head. It's such a simple, harmless decision, and that one decision, it leads him straight into a nightmare. So you see him moving from what he knows to what he doesn't. You can almost feel that safety net starting to tear with every single step he takes. The environment itself almost becomes a character, pulling him deeper into a place that just feels wrong, neglected, forgotten. And then, there it is. The first real sign something's wrong. It's not a clear cry for help, but something way more unsettling. It's this sound that just echoes out there, and it feels like it's designed for one thing: to let you know someone's there and to freak you out. So he hears the scream again, and this time, it's a lot closer. He turns back, and just like that, all that mystery is gone. It's replaced by a very real threat, a figure in dark clothes, back on the road, and he is steadily walking toward him. The fear isn't in his head anymore. Okay, and this is where the real mind games start. The man is there one moment and gone the next. Is he hiding? Is he even real? This guy appearing and disappearing, it makes our narrator start to question what's real. Is he going crazy? All while that feeling of being hunted just gets stronger and stronger. It's a cruel little game. Somehow, he makes it back to his townhouse. He's home, he's safe, or so he thinks. But then, a heavy knock on the door confirms his absolute worst fear. The scary part? The threat didn't stay out there in the woods. It followed him. It knows where he lives. The one place on Earth that's supposed to be safe is not safe anymore. All right, let's switch gears. Our next case gets into a totally different kind of fear. Here, the victim isn't looking for quiet or solitude. He's just doing his job. What starts as a totally normal night for a Lyft driver turns into this carefully planned trap, showing us the fear of a predator who has all the power. I mean, the red flags were there right from the beginning. A pickup request in the middle of nowhere. The customer doesn't respond. The driver cancels, only to get almost the exact same request just a few miles down the same empty road. It feels less like a random ride and more like a lure, right? Like a trap being set. Again. But against his better judgment, he picks the guy up. And after a few minutes of really tense, quiet driving to another empty spot, the whole act just crumbles with 4 simple, terrifying words. The passenger pulls a gun, and all that bad feeling the driver had, it just explodes into the realization that he's completely lost control of his car and of his life. Wow, so the next 12 minutes must have felt like an eternity. For 10 of those minutes, he's just being marched deeper and deeper into the woods, every single second just dragging on as he's walking to what he's sure is the end. And then, in a split second, he just decides to run. He has to make a choice, certain death or a tiny, desperate chance to live. And that one gunshot, man, that's like the exclamation point on his escape. It's the sound of the violence he just barely got away from. He gets away, which is incredible, but he loses everything, his car, his stuff, and you got to think any sense of safety he ever had doing that job, just gone.
Okay, for our last story, we're hitting on what might be the deepest fear for a lot of us: someone violating your home. This isn't about being chased or trapped somewhere else. It's that chilling discovery that the danger isn't outside trying to get in. It's already in there with you.
And it starts so small, it's almost nothing. A guy gets home on a rainy night and just happens to see a light on in his upstairs bedroom, a light he knows for a fact he turned off. It's just this tiny detail, this little crack in his reality. And that's it. That's the first little seed of doubt that gets planted in his mind. So what's the first thing his brain does? It tries to find a logical reason, right? We all do it. He tries to explain it away. It's got to be a reflection from the headlights. It has to be. Because the other option is just too scary to even think about. And here's his last shot at trying to calm himself down. He blames himself. He tells himself, "I'm just tired." Because if he can believe that, he can hold on to that feeling of being safe in his own house for just a little bit longer. But that feeling, you know the one, it just won't go away. A little later, he sees the light turn off from downstairs, so he carefully goes up to check it out, and that's when everything changes. The closet door moves, and for a split second, he sees an eye looking back at him. And that's it. The illusion is completely shattered. Later, the police find the back door is just busted. There's really only one chilling conclusion you can draw from that. An intruder had been inside the house the whole time he was downstairs, watching a movie, dozing off on the couch. Not just an intruder, but someone who was watching him, hiding right there in the shadows of his own home. So, these three stories, they're obviously terrifying, but they're more than just scary tales. Each one is like a perfect case study of a different, primal kind of fear that really comes alive in the dead of night. So when you break it down, you see these three different types of terror. First, you've got the pursuer, that threat that stalks you from the edges of your world. Then there's the predator, who sets up an isolated trap where you're totally helpless. And then there's the one that I think gets to a lot of people, the invader, the one who breaks into that one place you're supposed to be safe, your home. When you really think about it, what all these stories show us is just how fragile our sense of safety really is. It's not a physical wall. It's a feeling. It's an assumption we make every single day. And what they prove is that the line between a totally normal, peaceful night and a living nightmare is just terrifyingly thin.